like boomers, like liberal boomers who kind of fall for this kind of shit, who fall for the clips and stuff, and then they make it legitimate. Democrats running in midterms need to disavow and distance themselves from Hasan Piker's toxic and anti-American rhetoric.
You know what? The game is afoot in Michigan.
Yeah, this is a boomer liberal just kind of falling for everything that he has seen so far, whether it be like Republican accounts, whether it be guys like the other guy that we just saw. This is a fairly complex, fairly sophisticated influence peddling operation, and I think there are a lot of people who think they know what's up. A lot of people who think they're above it, think they're above the propaganda, who are just falling for it hook, line, and sinker.
Let me show you what I'm talking about. And I got this off the Ghetto app. That El Said has already reached out to Maryland Governor Wes Moore, right? He's the only black governor, to help him shore up support among black voters. You can read and screenshot the rest of this, but the bottom down here says, the outreach comes as El Said attempts to win back, I think back is the wrong word there, black voters, a critical Democratic voting bloc that predominantly backed Stevens. And over in the Ghetto app, Tim over there asks, it responds to Hasan Piker, that's him on the Ghetto app, it's time to unite.
Like there are a lot of boomers, like lifelong liberal boomers, who I think unironically are just like Hasan Piker is the biggest threat to America's future. Yeah, when he says Ghetto app, he's talking about Twitter. How do you build online discipline not to argue with people? I mean, normally I let this stuff wash over me. I don't really give a shit. But the reason why I'm talking about it today is not to like defend myself or whatever, or attack this guy or whatever. I'm just showing you that there is a broad propaganda effort, a fairly sophisticated propaganda effort to make it seem both by right-wingers and even liberals that fall for said propaganda, to make it seem like the left is the real threat to America. Okay? At a time when Donald Trump's the president, at a time when American fascism is at its peak, we got masked thugs of the state gunning down American citizens, kidnapping our fucking neighbors. American corruption at the tippy top is at an all-time high. Donald Trump is not even hiding it. How could these guys win? Right? The question is, how could the Republican Party ever win another election ever again? Well, this is how. To try to divide the Democratic Party's base of support, or I don't even want to say the Democratic Party's base of support. I want to say more so the anti-Trump force in this country, because there are people who are former Trump voters in there. There are non-voters in there. There are, people further to the left, many people further to the left in the Democratic Party in there. There is a broad anti-Trump force. And obviously, it is the overwhelming majority of Americans at this point. It's probably like 70-30, right? It's 70-30. So how do you make sure that if 70% of the country is anti-Trump, how do you make sure Trump and his loyalists still end up winning elections? You can't obviously lean into your unbelievably popular policies, because the signature policy of the Trump administration was combating immigration, right? Closing the border and then sicking ICE in blue cities. And that quickly backfired in every single city that it was deployed in. Like every single city that ICE was deployed in, people pushed back. People got very angry. And the policy broadly became unpopular. It was supposed to be a signature policy. Now it's very unpopular, right? So they really don't have anything. The Trump administration has nothing to lean into. The economy is dog shit. He didn't stop the wars. He's, only started more wars. So the only thing they can do is go on the offense and try to chop down the broad 70% of the country. Get them to fight amongst themselves. Get us to fight amongst ourselves, right? Because I don't think this guy and me, we agree, I don't think we agree on a lot of things, but we definitely don't disagree on the thing that matters most, which is fuck Donald Trump, punish the Republicans, right? At the end of the day, we are a part of this broad 70% of Americans who want to hold the Trump administration accountable. But because this guy spends every waking moment being like, fuck the left, there are going to be people who are fans of mine or people who are just like fans of the ideology, who are, more progressive, DSA, that are going to see this and be like, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? And then there's more enmity amongst ourselves, right? Then there's going to be more anger and more resentment because now he hates the left even more. He hates me even more. He'll say, oh, Hasan's like minions are after me because they're all secretly Klansmen or something, right? This is what I'm trying to explain. Like, Republicans are very, very clever. Like, the machine is very clever. Republican voters, not so much. And Republican politicians, not so much either. But the machine itself is obviously very clever because their agenda is unbelievably toxic. It's violent. It's corrupt. Everybody hates it. There's mass disapproval, right? There's mass disapproval for this toxic agenda. So how do they sell it? Well, they know they can't sell it, so they just go on the offense. Sometimes the best defense is to go on the offense. Fox News puts out the notes. Republican watchers of Fox News immediately consolidate around it because they are so one note. There is nothing that you can compare on the liberal side to the power that Fox News has over the entire Republican movement. If Fox News says Hasan Piker is the greatest enemy to the United States of America's future, every Republican in the country is going to feel that way. Okay? And that is the case already, right? That's already the case. That's already happening, right? The issue also, on top of the Republican side, is that the liberals are not as partisan. Weirdly enough, they're just not as partisan in their anti-Trump hatred. They don't consolidate support around anyone and everyone that the Republicans are attacking. I think back in the day they used to, and they still do to a certain degree. But I think post Kamala Harris 2024, there have been major fissures in the broad anti-Republican movement where there are a lot of people who legitimately think that, like, Kamala Harris was the best politician around, and she lost because the left is not responsible. They're not serious. They're white supremacists. They didn't want to vote for a black woman because they hate black people, that kind of thing. There are definitely a lot of people who have that kind of resentment, and they haven't been able to get over it. Right? And it's really interesting because it's something that I think the liberals have trained their base to feel for years and years, because they did this with Hillary Clinton too. The party cannot fail. It can only be failed. The party or the campaign is never responsible for a failure. It's the voters that failed the party. It's the voters that failed the candidate. And Democrats have hammered that point over and over again to a lot of boomers' minds. Obviously, our generation and younger do not give a fuck about that. We have no loyalty. We do not care, right? So in some respects, like, if you have the white evangelical base for the Republican Party that has been primed with white supremacy as their guiding principle, as their North Star, and they will always vote for the Republicans as long as the Republicans are like, we are going to do your white supremacist bidding. I would say that there are some power players, or I guess like hyper loyalists of the Democratic Party on the liberal side that also have this like admiration and loyalty to establishment centrist Democrats, right? The Clintons, Kamala Harris, whoever the Democratic Party puts up as their champion, their hero. They don't ever think about policies. They don't ever think about the impact of policies. They just believe in the electability argument that is presented in front of them, right? So, I'm sorry to say, but yes, there's white supremacy behind a lot of this. Address it, unite, kick Trump out. Get over it. How about address it? What do you mean? Do I think that there is white supremacy that played a role in a black woman not winning the election? Of course I do. What I'm talking about is uniting right now, because the white supremacy coming from the Republican Party is far more damaging right now. And a lot of people are refusing to reckon with that and playing the role of wreckers in general. That's it. When I say people have to tell me about your country and how it includes me, people watch this shit skin. Nice, dude. I'm Mr. Racially Ambiguous. I'm both a white supremacist at times, depending on who's yelling at me, and also the most anti-white brown guy anyone's ever seen, I don't think you understand how long the right has been working on this moment. I used to listen to G. Gordon Liddy in high school a decade or so before you were born, Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh in the late 90s. 30 or 40 years of this brainwashing with the welfare queen, George Soros tropes. It has been decades of work, millions of hours of radio time rotting people's minds. No, I'm fascinated by right-wing propaganda, and I cover it extensively. So I am actually very aware of this. I'm actually very, very, very aware of this reality, more so than the average person is. Anyway, let's continue.
To defeat the Republicans, we need a Senate. I don't know what the we is there, because you're not a Democrat. Majority to begin the defensive posture against Trump's ', growing fascism and unprecedented corruption. Now that's Hasan Piker there. And, I've said before, I've said already, that's Hasan Piker before he got that really, really nice head of hair.
No! Unc thinks that's what I used to look like. Unc got duped by AI. No. Oh my God, brother. Oh no. Oh. What is this? Breakfast Club?
So Hasan Piker reacted to the DNC clip, and he was very nice about it. But Hasan Piker is, and he's I've known him before politics. I knew about him before politics. Mm-hmm. I don't say this criticizing him. He needs to learn how to speak to black people. He does, and I don't think he's a bad person, but he is definitely not a moderate. He is a democratic socialist. And I like Hasan Piker because of the influence he brings to the table. And any conversation with him is an interesting conversation.
Okay.
I don't think he is a bad person, but I think he needs to learn how to speak to older people within the party. And
okay, he's 100% right. Okay, don't say iPad kid. He's right. No, he's not wrong. I don't think he's wrong. He's right. Yes. There's two different. Listen. I am myself, so I have anecdotal experience with this, okay? I can speak on this, and I think many of you guys in the chat who are black can speak on this as well. When your parents first encounter me from the most negatively framed anti-black clips, they immediately go, oh, fuck this guy. This guy's a white supremacist, right? Or classic white guy speaking out of turn, white guy speaking out of state, doesn't know his place, doesn't respect his elders, doesn't respect the important work that black people put to the civil rights struggle in this country and how they've always been at the forefront of social justice, right? It's true. They especially a lot of older people, if they see those prime clips, that's how they feel. But the inverse of this is also true, because all the aunts and all the unks, when they actually see you know, I don't know, me talking about like how whiteness isn't real or you know, white supremacy. If that's the first clip that they see, they become diehard supporters. So it's entirely dependent on what kind of clips people see for the first time ever. And I'm sure that you guys have probably had similar experiences with your parents as well. Yeah. Like if your older parents or your grandparents or whatever, if they have seen like clips of me talking about reparations, talking about white supremacy, clips of me on The Breakfast Club, like, because I have a lot of older fans now, like a lot more than ever before, especially since the barrage of attack ads because old people watch television, right? And if they see those bad clips, they're going to be like, oh, fuck this guy. This guy is a white guy who doesn't understand it. White guy who's like talking about black people and talking at black people, never to black people, doesn't understand the struggle, all this stuff. Right?
Black people.
How do you do that though? Like I feel like if it's not in you, it's just not something you're able to do. Like because I feel like you should just speak to issues that everybody can relate to.
But I think that's different for politicians and streamers. Like I think it's really like I think it's night and day with politicians and streamers. I think politicians can turn on a switch, but I think streamers are mismatched with the older establishment. Like, could you imagine? Okay, Charlamagne, could you imagine Hasan Piker having a conversation with a ballot caster, older black lady in South Carolina?
I have done it. I've done this. Here's the thing. I have literally done this. Not in South Carolina, but like I did this in Harlem. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It's you know, it's very different. In the real world, it is very different.
What would that look like?
I'm gonna tell you why I think
pause?
Like, what are you?
What
even
point are we
saying?
trying to make here? So, like, my thing is, right, and I don't want to, like, Matt gonna crash, but I'm trying to handle with, like, some kitty gloves because
South Carolina is very different than Harlem. Oh my God. Okay, guys, okay. I can do it in South Carolina too. I know it's different. I'm not saying that's not the point, guys. The point is, I talk to older voters, older black voters. I talk to older voters all around the country. It is a very different experience if you talk to people in the real world as opposed to like the interactions that people clip online. Oh my God. That's all I'm saying.
14.
It don't got. That's why I'm a crash though.
Because
it don't
yeah,
got
it's
shit to
disgusting
do
for
with
the
this
other
nigga.
reason.
Yeah.
Like, what point are we trying to make here? This talking point, Hasan needs to learn how to talk to people, to black people, has spawned because, like, there's probably like 4 or 5 clips you can find somewhere in this career where he said something culturally insensitive. But the main one that I always hear people bring up is the whole, like, him saying, I don't care what black people think. And they like clip that. And like you would thought it was the New York Times, the way they just put like, I don't care what black people think. And ran as like, that's what he's so ignorant to black issues. He don't give a fuck about the civil rights movement. The context was a chatter in the chat was like, yo, I know you're talking about this. We need to redesign our immigration policy thing so that we're not putting people in concentration camps. But did you know black people actually do like a strong border? And he was like, I don't care what black people think, even if that was right. It's still wrong to have the border that we have and the immigration policy that we have. You can't.
Yeah, and then also in the broader context, I literally was saying that's positively untrue. That's not even the case. Everybody always loves using black people as a talking point. They always do it. People love saying, well, black people care about this, black people care about that, when it's not even the case, right? Black people are not a monolithic force. Number one, no one is. And number two, it's not even correct when you look at the actual data, right? The funniest part is when you meet us and talk to us, you do absolutely fine. These audiences just don't see those moments. You have your awkward moments, but you treat us like human beings and who you view as equals and not tools to be cast aside after we vote or using us as a cudgel. Yeah, I know. It's just, but that's not how it goes in the internet. That's not how it goes in the internet. It's just the internet is just like high intensity viral moments, clips that you can use to weaponize like propaganda, and sometimes unks fall for it. You know, sometimes unks fall for it.
El Said and every other Democrat should distance themselves from this guy right here. He is toxic, and every Democrat who is running for office for the midterms are going to be asked about this guy. He is an albatross because he has said America and Americans deserve 9/11 and a bunch of other toxic things. One of his streams, I don't know if it's still up, but in the background he had a poster that said F Kamala Harris. Like, this guy is toxic. And so if you are a Democrat running for office, you should go on the record right now disavowing this guy. So I would advise every politician running for office, get out, put your statement out now disavowing the words of Hasan Piker, because Republicans are going to ask you about him relentlessly. So you could get your word out now, your statement out.
Republicans famously always stop. You know, famously, Republicans go, oh, you disavowed him? Oops, I guess I can't use that as a talking point no more. What else should the Democrats disavow? Communism, socialism? You know, because famously that'll stop the Republicans from using that as a line of attack against the entire Democratic Party. Famously, our enemies, our opposition, always is kind, sincere, truthful, right? That's how it goes, right? Oh, that's not how it goes. They're calling David Crowley a socialist. So maybe at some point, we have to stop playing defense on what Republicans are setting as the agenda and start playing offense. That's my principle. That's my policy. That's what I've been begging Democrats to do for decades at this point.
Now you can refer to it on the campaign trail because they're already putting his words in El Said's mouth, and they're going to put them in your mouth too, because they're going to try to rile up their base.
Like, why would you, under any circumstance, why would you under any circumstance hand it to the Republicans? I mean, even my 9/11 comment itself is living, breathing proof that distancing yourself or apologizing for things simply do not matter. Republicans are going to use this as propaganda. It's strange because sometimes I have to demand people become more partisan instantly. Just be more partisan. Just be more partisan, please. You know, be more partisan. Be smarter about it. Okay? Because it's clear that these guys in the opposition, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit if you apologize. They don't give a shit what your actual worldview is. There's perhaps no better example. There's perhaps no better example than the 9/11 comments itself. Because guess what? I disavowed my own 9/11 comments all the way back in 2019, and that hasn't stopped the Republican Party from weaponizing it over and over again. So at some point, we got to wisen up. Yeah, the bottom line is we do not have a unified opposition party. Some Democrats get paid by the same people that pay Republicans. There's no way they'll speak up against these Republicans because it'll impact their pockets. I don't know if this guy's getting paid. I'm being charitable. I just think he's unk. I mean, because look, this made me believe that he's not like a paid propagandist or anything and just simply unk because he saw an AI photo and thought it was real. I think he's just unk. Sometimes you're just unk. It'd be like that. It's like that sometimes. I think sometimes you're just unk and you've seen a lot of AI stuff. You've seen a lot of craziness on the internet and it just kind of warped your brain a little bit.
is going to ask you about him relentlessly, so you can get your word out now, your statement out now. You can refer to it on the campaign trail, because they're already putting his words in El Said's mouth, and they're going to put them in your mouth too, because they're going to try to rile up their base with that guy's words. And I don't know what El Said's going to do, but you could take a clue from James Tallarico. He got in that town hall with them black folk and said, listen, keep Jasmine Crockett's name out of your mouth, because she endorsed me and she's doing what she can, right, to help down ballot and so forth and so on. He was talking to his toxic online followers like Keith Edwards and a bunch of others, regular normie people who spent their time after his campaign win harassing and attacking black people online, including Jasmine Crockett. And I can tell you something, El Said, your followers are doing much the same based on my own comments across the apps. They are online attacking black people, and you could get Wes Moore, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama. None of that will matter, because black people are not a monolith, and we don't just do what politicians tell us to do. So get that in control, Said, and all other politicians. Get your statement out disavowing Hassan.
Yeah, this is the number one priority for Black America right now. Older liberals only know how to think defensively. They've never in their lives seen Dems go on the offensive in a way that means anything. Older black people are used to defensive voting, knowing it's prolonging survival. This is a Stevens voter thinking he's giving good advice. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said I don't think he's paid. I think he's just a boomer. I think he's just Unc. It's fine, you know? Like, I think Unc is never voting for Mike Rogers. Do you understand what I mean? Like, Unc is never voting for Mike Rogers. He's voting for Abdul El-Sayed. He sincerely thinks he's giving good advice to Abdul El-Sayed, which is fine. Like, I mean, we take those. We take those. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know. I don't think he's in Michigan. Or he might be. I can't tell if this is Michigan or not. This motherfucker's a conservative 1,000%. You're wrong. No. Well, he might be conservative, but he's not a Republican. Because I think a lot of people have failed to comprehend something. Okay, one, black people are not monolithic, but by and large, black people, according to polls, are far more progressive than white people are. Okay, so make no mistake, get that out of the way. That's number one. Number two, black people can be conservative, especially older black people, but they're not Republican. Okay, by and large, they're just not Republican. So there's a difference there. Like, I don't think this person is like a MAGA operative. I think this person is a MAGA operative who's like, oh, I'm a former liberal. Yeah. Small C conservative. White people are generally big C conservative. Yeah. Yeah. The most conservative black person has a 90+% chance of being a lifelong Democrat. Yes. And by the way, the most conservative black person, lifelong Democrat, and still probably a lot more progressive than the same age bracket, but for, but a white person. That's the other side of the story. That's why I always get very frustrated with the way that like the media covers black people in general. Oftentimes as a talking point to be like, well, black people are moderate, or black people are this, or black people are that. Or whenever they say like black people are conservative, I'm like, you're just not looking at the broader picture at all. I would go so far as to say that like Republican, like conservative black folk that are Republican voters are an entirely separate category of its own. They said they're voting Rogers, dude. These are the same people who called ICE on their neighbors. Wait, he didn't say he's voting Rogers. What are you talking about? I don't think he said that at all. Did I miss that? The same frustration as people saying black people love a strong border. Actually, yeah. My dad is conservative and black, but lived up. Yeah. Never. He would also love you if he knew you were pro reparations, but then he would come up with like 5 reasons he was told they can't happen. This is just older black people and chat is too white to get this. Yeah, I mean, there's also that element too. That goes back to the defensive voting posture. That guy wrote a book about Kamala Harris's vice presidential career. He's a Clinton, Clyburn Dem. Yeah, that guy is never in a million years voting for Mike Rogers. Okay? It just, like, there's just no shot. I don't think a lot of people understand the mentality of older black folk in this country. Like, they just don't they just don't get it. And I think the media has a lot to do with that. I think that the de facto segregation that we still have in this country has a lot to do with that, right? Certainly plays a role in this of our inability to understand it. But make no mistake, I think, I personally don't care if like one group of individuals care about an issue. That's not how I operate in general. I know people get frustrated when I say that. They say it's crass. They say it's class reductionist or whatever, but it's the same principle as like when people used to come in here and say like, well, here's the thing, like all Jewish people want Israel to continue doing violence to Palestinians. I'm like, I don't care. That's not true. But even if it was true, that wouldn't change my attitude on a horrific wrong that I have observed, right? Yeah. Black Americans are more progressive than white Americans by a large margin, but black Democrats are more conservative than white Democrats, broadly speaking, mostly just because religiosity is a lot of higher among black Democrats than white ones, and being a white Democrat kind of self-selects away from conservatism since far more white people are Republicans. I don't even know if that's the case. And no, I don't think it's religiosity at all. I think it more so stems, no, you're wrong. It's not religiosity, it's defensive voting. It is existing in a white supremacist environment and knowing full well that every single election cycle, you are actually making a choice between two people that are, kind of racist or really, really racist or openly racist versus not as openly racist. And you always lean on the side of the party that actually you can remember expended social and political capital. That's why my speculation on this, I've talked to FD Signifier about this as well. My speculation on this is as to why younger black voters no longer vote with the same propensity, with the same intensity, is because they haven't experienced anything in their lifetimes where either of the two major parties have done something for them, right? Older black people still remember a time where black people were not allowed to vote. You know what I mean? Or at least there's like one generation removed from it. So, of course, that's part of the reason why they have this defensive voting posture. And also on top of that are far, far higher, far more likely to go out and vote, especially when adjusted to similar socio-political groups. Like if you look at the economic status of black voters, even poorer black voters that are older are more likely to go out and vote than poorer white voters that are in the same age demographic. Because there's something that is like motivating older black voters, poor and wealthier, to go out and vote. And that is the importance of voting, the understanding of the importance of voting, and also a remembrance of like the Democratic Party back when they did actually stick their neck out for black people in a meaningful manner. Old people think voting is all they got? Yeah. What is this? The straightest Republican man? What the fuck? Dear Hasan, stick to what you know. Being goon bait for the gays. Leave women alone. Leave animals alone. Leave children alone. Leave the LGB alone. You look better here. Back arched and silent. His at being dad seeking God is the icing on the cake. Domesticated dad seeking God. I mean, he's gay as hell, right? Like this is gayer than anything Auntie Piker could ever tweet. That's crazy. My man was straight gooning on the timeline, bro. That is crazy. More like dad seeking dick.